Hello, friends. Tia, your San Francisco Bay Area luxury real estate specialist. This week's video is going to be about the buyer experience part 2. So, for some reason, I thought I was going to be able to get all the way through all of the different topics that are important to buyers in one video, and I'm realizing it's going to have to be a series. So, part 2, I'm going to try to get through who pays commission, pays closing costs, a little bit of the shopping process, which is the fun process, which we should focus on because that's the really fun. And also maybe a bit into the escrow process. We'll see how much time we have. And I'd like to ask you to like and subscribe to the video because, as I said, it will be a series. Then we'll be moving to sellers. Then we'll be moving to investors. I'm also going to have some lenders come on and help you, which should help you understand the lending process and where they're coming from and demystify the lending process. And I'm also going to have an escrow officer come on and talk with us about their side of things and why it just seems like they keep giving us more pieces of paper for escrow. But escrow and title, I'll talk about that a little bit as well, why they're super important to the home purchase process. But basically and quickly, they just kind of tie you to the home, and that's what you want, is to make sure that you're tied to the home legally, and that the money that's sent from your bank ends up where it should be, and that commissions are paid, and all that good stuff. But I'd also like to thank our new subscribers. We have new subscribers to the channel. I have Bridge MLS. Thank you so much for subscribing. King and Liam, thank you so much for subscribing. And King of Kingdoms, we got a comment, who is feeling a little downhearted about the home buying process and feeling like he or she will not be able to purchase a home until 2066. And I can definitely get you in a home before 2066. So please keep watching. Remember to like the videos and subscribe to the channel. And the more that videos that you watch, hopefully you'll have all the information, or feel like you have most of the information that you need to be able to confidently pursue purchasing a home. And we really want to get you on that path. So please do continue watching, and please do continue commenting. And that's what I would like to say also is, please don't forget to comment on the videos. If you had a different buyer experience yourself, if there's something you'd like to share, if there's something you'd like to talk about, whether it be positive or negative, let's talk about it. And let's, if it was something negative, let's see if we can't make it your experience better next time. So please do like, subscribe, and comment. I also want to welcome Angela One. Hooray! Congratulations for finding my channel, and thank you so much for subscribing. We actually had a transaction together for everyone else a few years back, and it was a tough one. My buyer really had a hard time getting into home ownership, but we did it, and Angela worked with me, and thank you so much for giving my buyer the opportunity. They really enjoyed, obviously, home ownership. And as I said, I am going to have more content for investors as we move along. So thank you so much for subscribing. Great hearing from you and seeing you again, quote unquote, seeing you again. And yes, please do enjoy the channel. I also wanted to explain why I'm sitting in my car. For those of you that may not know, but here in the San Francisco Bay Area, we are under a shelter-in-place order, which means that we really should be staying home as much as possible. Maybe going back and forth to the office on a limited basis. In real estate, we're considered essential because obviously people need to be able to move in and move out of properties and do what they need to do to be able to have shelter. And so we are in the office, but we try to spend as little time in there as possible and really be in the outdoors. So I'm going to try to mix it up between my office and my car, and I also want to do a few location shoots where I can out in the outside where there's plenty of fresh air, because I do want to feature some of the local private schools here in Oakland, and just as a general thought. The schools pull from neighborhood districts. and that'll be another show that I focus on later as well, is how the public schools work here in Oakland and how the private schools work. But basically, it's by district, not quite by zip code, but loosely. And so, as you can imagine, there's a lot of competition for homes in particular school districts. So that's another strategy that we have to look at when we are thinking about purchasing a home, is how can we get you in the best school district. Even if you don't have kids and don't plan to, it's still going to affect your property value. So it's a strategy that we look at when we're looking at making the best home for you, finding the best home for you, but also making the best investment for you, because you may decide to sell down the road, and we want to make sure that we've picked a good solid investment for you. So that's something that I'll help you do as well. But let's get to it. So two quick things before we continue on with the process. In our last video, we talked about getting prepared, lending, making sure that your employment is contiguous and not necessarily with the same employer, but in the same line of work for the last 2 years. And so today, I want to go deeper into the process and move forward. There's a lot to talk about, so I'll do my best to get as far as I can in today's video, and then we'll just keep going. We'll just keep making videos and answering your questions and that sort of thing. So two quick things right up front. Number one, I'm hearing a lot of people wondering who pays commission when you're a buyer. And what I will say is, as a buyer, you never pay commission. Now, there are some people who've bought many properties and they work out some kind of deal with their agent. Well, they'll pay them on the side so they can try to get into some sort of property. But in general, the seller pays commission. And in general, let's say in general, the seller has signed a contract with their agent indicating that they are willing to pay commission. So you may as well let them do that for you, because that's going to let you feel free to choose the best agent that money can buy, right? Because you're not actually paying the commission. So that's just something I wanted to get across, because I'm hearing some buyers thinking that if they don't work with an agent, they will save money on the house. And unfortunately, all that does is save the seller money, who's already doing well, right, because they're selling their property. And it also keeps you from affording the protection that you would get from having an agent. So what a buyer's agent is going to do is help you, represent you, and they're going to help you negotiate for getting the most home that you can get for what you can afford at the lowest price. They're also going to know how to ask for certain things on your behalf. So when you get your inspection reports and there are items on those reports, they'll be able to craft a repair request or a credit request that will net you the most in return. And that's really something that you need a real estate professional to help you with, because they'll be able to help you understand the nature of the issues with the home and whether or not they're even something that you want to take on. Generally they are, generally they're something that can be negotiated, unless you're talking about like huge foundation damage. There's always a bit of foundation movement. But if there's a big job, that's something that you want to know and maybe want to negotiate the repair of, either in or after escrow. But generally, there are other issues, roof, drainage, other issues that a real estate professional is going to be able to help you with and help you plan for, so that you're not in a situation where you've bought the home and the house starts to move, or God forbid. As I said, a real estate professional will be able to assist you with that and being able to help you interpret those reports and that sort of thing. So seller pays buyer agent commission, so don't cut yourself short. Get yourself a buyer's agent to help you negotiate. Okay. Number two, the other question that people have, and the other common misconception that people have, is regarding to down payment. You do not need 20% to buy a home. Please tell your friends, tell everyone, you don't need 20%. And I think, I'm not quite sure where it came from that you need 20%. You will pay mortgage insurance, which is both an upfront fee and a monthly fee. But in my opinion, you can safely go down to 5% for a down payment. You can go lower, you can go 3.5%, but generally that's better if your house price is like under 700,000. And again, we're starting to stray into lender territory, so I'm going to have a lender come on and be very specific with us about jumbo and super jumbo and what you can do with an FHA loan and what you can't, and when you got to go to the 5%. But just bear in mind, I try to tell people, have in your mind 5%. If you can do more, of course it's great because it lowers your monthly payment. But you don't need 20%. So I just feel like a lot of people are keeping themselves out of home ownership because they've got that 20% number. And when you're looking at a home that's $500,000, which is going to be at least in Oakland, at the very, very least, you're looking at $100,000. A lot of people don't have $100,000, but more people have, let's say, 10,000 or 20,000, or can get their hands on it somehow from relatives or GoFundMe or whatnot, then they can the 100,000. So please, please tell all your friends. You don't need 20% because it's very, very important, and I think it's there are many people that I've come into contact with who have that in their mind. Another thing I want to bring up is, and I touched on it briefly in the last video, was the pre-approval process. We've already talked about getting a pre-approval and the importance of doing that sooner rather than later. Because even if you don't get the pre-approval, you start the relationship with the lender and they'll tell you, okay, pay off, 20% of this bill, 10% of that bill, and show you how to use your money to give you the biggest bang for your buck in getting your pre-approval. Okay, so now let's say you have your pre-approval. To a person, the pre-approval is always going to be way more than you want to spend. So just prepare yourself that you're going to get a piece of paper with a giant number, or your PDF via email, with a very large number on it. And that is great for the ego, but it's not necessarily great for the pocketbook. So what I would recommend is, once you've got yourself through the pre-approval process, make sure you ask 2 questions of your lender. 1, what is the monthly payment on this loan? And 2, does that payment include principal, interest, taxes, and insurance? Those are 4 charges that you cannot get out of in purchasing a home. So your principal and interest is the charge to have the loan and to use it over the 30 years. And the taxes and insurance is your property tax. That money goes to your county. And the insurance is we call it burn down insurance. It's hazard insurance, and it basically protects the property, right? It protects your property, but it also protects the bank's investment. So that's the amazing thing about home ownership is it's an investment that you can leverage, meaning that you can use a small amount towards the value of to purchase, right? And a bank will lend you the rest. You can live in it, and you can insure it. You can't do that with stocks. You can't do that with bonds or any other kind of investment unless it's real estate. And that's the amazing thing about real estate is it's both something that can be lived in and used and is supposed to be lived in, and can also be insured. So if you have a loss, you have a way of recouping either the property or the value of the property. So it's pretty amazing. So, but just make sure that you ask that question, because you don't want to just look at the piece of paper and start making offers and then have a situation where you hadn't taken into account that you need to not only pay back the loan with principal and interest payments, but that you also need to pay for taxes, property taxes, which is an annual expense, and insurance, which is also an annual expense. So make sure that that question is asked. So that's the pre-approval. We're almost there. And then one other thing that I wanted to make sure that we talked about was the emotional aspect of purchasing. And what I will say is, even though I asked you to do the paperwork first, as far as getting a pre-approval is concerned, I don't want you to lose sight of how great it is to purchase a home. I love real estate, as you can tell. And one of the things I love about it the most is going in and out of properties and seeing all the interesting choices, both architecturally and as far as land use are concerned, how properties are situated on their lots, locations, nearby amenities. All of that stuff is just really, really interesting to me, and I think you'll find it of interest as well. So don't lose sight of that. Obviously, we're going to try to choose the most strategic neighborhood for you based on your familial situation. If you're single, if you have family, if you have one child, if you have 10. So we'll try to choose a neighborhood and a property based on what suits your needs in that realm. But don't get lost in the stress of it. Really try to enjoy it. We have a great tool in the internet, and that's really something that's just come about in the last 15, 20 years, I would say, where you can do a lot of the shopping ahead of time. So maybe when you do get out there, you might only look at 10 houses total in person because you've been able to look at 100 online. And that's a huge change from the way things were certainly before I even got into real estate myself. So, enjoy it, enjoy the process. I would say take a part of the evening, set aside a half hour every evening if you can, every other evening if not, and scroll through the properties. I can set you up with an email drip that'll send properties that fit your parameters, which we would limit by purchase price and minimum beds and baths. And any agent that you're working with will be able to establish that for you. And just set aside the time so you can kind of scroll through the properties, but then not drive yourself nuts either and be checking it every 5 minutes and say, okay, this is my time to pick out some properties, put them together so we can go for a look and see what's out there. But, let that be the fun part. Let that be the part that you look forward to. And the paperwork, in my personal opinion, I don't love the paperwork aspect, but, that's why I said we kind of front loaded the process. Get that out of the way so it's just fun moving forward. Well, I'm already to the end of my time, so we're going to have to continue on with this series. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and I will be right back with the buyer experience part 3. Have a great day.